Here we are at the University of Arkansas at a 1287 event, which is actually the number of homeless at their last point in time count. And almost a year ago, was it last July, I was invited to speak here. And I didn't know David was going to be here, and I actually didn't know your story. We've had some email exchanges. So tell me what happened at the last briefly, tell me what happened at the last 1287.
Well, I was overwhelmed that so many people like Mike Rusch they had read my articles, which were in the newspaper for a week, documenting homelessness. And they started asking me all these questions that night, and they said, what can we do to help? What can we do to help? And then the next morning, this guy who I don't know just comes up to me and he says, you know, I'd like to do something to help, but I just don't know what to do. And then I had no big game plan for him that I could give to him because, anyway, I just said, well, you know, there's no place to go for breakfast anymore. And
you were homeless. You were actually homeless, and you slept outside that night?
I had no game plan for that day because there was no place to go to eat. So Henry said, well, could I take you out to eat? And then we kind of bonded, and the relationship grew. He said, I would like to help. So I had a rash on my foot. He had me meet him. He brought me a pair of tennis shoes, and then he took me to Walgreens, and he took me to Seven Hills, and he said, you know, I've been talking to my friends, my wife, my family, and I just don't know how involved I really want to get in this. He said, you know, it's like you go to a pool or the lake and you stick your toe in just to see what the temperature is, but you don't want to dive in all at first. But we started communicating by emails, and then I sent him all these articles I'd written, and it became a trust factor. That's what it is. People don't trust homeless people, but we developed a relationship. We would meet probably about once a week, and then when I finally got a job, I didn't have the proper attire to be an usher, and he took me to Walmart and bought me that. And then eventually I didn't have a job, and I was still sleeping in a tent, and he introduced me to one of his friends who's the supervisor for apartment managers in this area. Right. And that was a transforming event.
And from your angle, I mean, this is not an everyday thing that, you know.
No, it wasn't. And I was drawn to the 1287 rally with some teenagers, one of them with my son, and I sat and listened and got up the next morning after sleeping out, and I sat next to David and got to know him some and realized he was safe, and we went out to breakfast that morning, and over time we got to know one another, and over time I think David trusted me, and I started trusting him some more, to the point where we got together over Thanksgiving at my house, and I started getting to know him and his needs, and I introduced him to a friend who was needing an apartment manager, and he reached out, and David did great on the interview and won the job. And today he's got a job and an apartment, and actually he's taking care of a lot of people.
Right.
He's a busy guy.
So, I mean, before I even came here, we knew of David's articles. We were, those of us in the blogosphere blogging about homeless issues were like, there's this homeless guy in Northwest Arkansas writing this great stuff. He used to be a sports writer, tremendous writer, and today you're here at the second 1287 and you're no longer homeless.
I went from sleeping in a camp, in a tent, to being an apartment manager the next day.
Awesome.
That's just God working through people like Henry.
He's still writing. He's got a blog. He's got a good blog on it.
Great.
So, great.
Awesome. This is proof that change does happen.